antagonistic hormone is the parathyroid hormone, and that was what I was describing before, and I got confused. Parathyroid hormone is produced by the parathyroid gland. Notice here is our illustration similar to the one we just saw. Here's the anterior view, the two lobes, and that connection in the front. If we flip this around to view from the back, this is what it looks like when we look at it from the back. In fact, I'll show you and you get to show everybody else. If you look closely at the thyroid here, you'll notice on the back are some pink dots. Those pink dots, I was going to hand it to you and pass it around. Those pink dots represent this parathyroid gland. Typically, there's somewhere between, 4 and 12 of these that can be found. They're completely separate glands. Even though they're attached to the thyroid, which is why they're called parathyroid, they're completely different glands. Here, we see them on the thyroid. Not only is it on the thyroid going around here, but also, if you look at this posterior view of the neck region on our chart, you'll see these three things that look a lot like they could be lymph nodes here on the back, but are in fact more parathyroid glands. However, they're not limited to just being on the thyroid gland. They can actually attach to the muscle or some of the connective tissue in the surrounding area as well. Parathyroid hormones, so let's clear some space here. And let's rewrite this to make sure it makes sense. Calcitonin basically has three targets. It targets the bones.
Wait, we're doing parathyroid.
Yep, we're going back.
Okay.
Because I had the confusion before, I want to make sure this is clear. Calcitonin has three targets: bone, kidney, and essentially skin. In the bone, it inhibited osteoclasts. So less bone matrix was broken up. Right? Our osteoblasts are still building at the same rate, but our osteoclasts are not breaking it down. So we are going to build more matrix. And of course, to build that matrix, where are we getting the calcium? Yeah, from the interstitial fluid, which is getting it from the blood. It is telling the kidney to release calcium. And what effect does that have on calcium levels in the blood? Decreases it. And it inhibits calcitriol. So we do not absorb calcium from our digestive system. If we did absorb calcium from our digestive system, where would it go? Into the blood. So notice all three of these affect, the overall effect is that it lowers calcium levels. And where is this calcitonin made? Thyroid. And which cells? Parafollicular. All right? Now, we're talking about parathyroid hormone, which of course is made where? Parathyroid gland. And, as we will see, specifically by what are known as chief cells. They have the exact same three targets. Bone, kidney, and essentially skin. But do they have the same effects? Do they have the same effects?
No.
No. What effect does it have on the bone? Yeah, this stimulates our osteoclasts. So we break down matrix. And of course, when we break down the matrix, where does the calcium go?
Into the blood.
Into the blood. It targets the kidney to reabsorb more calcium, putting that calcium back
Into the blood.
into the blood. And it stimulates calcitriol production. Bringing calcium from our digestive system into our blood. So the overall effect is to raise calcium levels. And how would we describe the relationship between these two hormones?
Antagonistic.
Antagonistic. And again, what's the advantage of that? Maintaining homeostasis, but also maintaining precise control. Right? How important is it to maintain calcium levels in your blood?
Very.
Very. Calcium, as we've talked about, makes cells do wonky things. If you're a gland that needs to produce a secretion and release it, you need calcium. If you're a neuron that needs to produce an action potential, you need calcium. If you're a muscle that needs to contract, you need calcium. Right? You know I'm not a huge number guy, and you don't need to memorize these numbers. But basically, the normal range of calcium in our blood is 8.5 to 11 microliters per deciliter. Or no, it's micrograms per deciliter, something like that. 8.5 to 11. Is that a huge range? No, it is an incredibly narrow range, which should show you how important this calcium and maintaining appropriate calcium levels are. So we have the exact same targets, but the opposite effects. And of course, how are both of these going to be regulated? Humoral. But again, if we say humoral, we got to say what in the blood? Humoral via what?
Calcium in the blood.
Calcium. Excellent. Now, we saw the parafollicular cells, so let's talk a little bit about these chief cells.